The illusion of saturation attacks. How many rounds can the CCP fire? In Iran's retaliation against Israel, Tehran loudly claimed it would launch thousands of missiles in revenge. But in reality, the entire war lasted 12 days, and Iran only fired just over 500 missiles, with none of the rounds exceeding 40 missiles. The so-called saturation strike ultimately turned into a regional harassment, leaving only debris and ridicule. This made Beijing suddenly realize a crucial issue. If war broke out tomorrow, could the People's Liberation Army really fire more densely than Iran? China's rocket force seemed intimidating: 150,000 troops, 9 DF-26 missile brigades, about 660 medium to long-range missiles, more than 3,000 cruise missiles, and even rumors that wartime munition factories could produce 1,000 cruise missiles per day. But a large inventory does not equal strong strike capability. The crucial question is, can they fire everything at once? Can multiple brigades coordinate and sustain fire? Can they hit accurately and still survive and retreat? In a 2024 public demonstration on China's state media, CCTV, the maximum salvo of a DF-26 brigade was only 25 vehicles. While there are many brigades, whether they can coordinate, synchronize, and strike before the US military suppresses them is unknown. Iran's failure serves as a mirror for Beijing's future. Looking at the PLA's command chain, missile launchers rely on 3 communication channels: ground optical cables, tropospheric communication, and satellite links. The problem is, ground optical cables have limited range and are easily cut off. Tropospheric communication has a long range but is affected by weather and can easily become distorted. Satellite links are fast, but once interfered with or physically destroyed, the entire link is broken. What's even more fatal is that these channels ultimately all connect to the Central Military Commission's single command chain. Military Commission to War Zone to Rocket Force Headquarters to finally the command to launch brigades. As long as one link in this chain is broken, missiles won't just fail to launch, they won't know where to fire, who will fire, or when to fire. This is exactly the combination strategy the US military validated on the Iranian battlefield. Don't wait for them to fire missiles, don't play interception games, just go for the decapitation and electronic suppression. Decapitation means precisely targeting the Rocket Force headquarters, the theater's Joint Command Center, and the Central Military Commission's communication nodes. These sites are often located in bunkers. The US military only needs to destroy the power system, ventilation shafts, and communication hubs to halt the command chain. Simultaneously, they would interfere with satellite links, cut off ground optical cables, and suppress tropospheric communication. The US EC-130H electronic warfare aircraft, B-2 stealth platforms, anti-satellite weapons, and cyber forces can turn these command networks into a mess within hours. Can the PLA still launch missiles? Who can provide targets? Who can give orders? Who can confirm the enemy's position? Rather than intercepting 660 incoming DF missiles, the US will certainly strike first in this scenario, and the rocket force will be paralyzed with the entire military unable to respond. Beijing knows this better than anyone. After the outbreak of the Iran war, Xi Jinping issued an overnight order stating all Taiwan combat system must be set up with a double-tier structure, one for attacking and one for backup. Each command post must be equipped with 2 people, 2 communication lines, and 2 types of communication links. So, don't listen to Beijing's talk of missile bombardment. When the real fight happens, they won't be able to maintain the momentum and communication or withstand decapitation. This kind of rocket force, even with thousands of missiles, still can't inflict harm. In plain terms, the bombardment won't succeed, and instead the US and Taiwan will counterattack. This is not a tactical failure, but a collapse of the system. Just like Iran trying to bombard, but the missiles missed. If the Chinese military tries to bombard, the command chain will most likely break first. HQ air defense cannot block reality. Iran's defeat wasn't just about missiles missing, but also about its entire air defense network being penetrated. In the 12-day war, Israeli F-35 jets operated almost undisturbed, repeatedly striking military targets within Iran. including nuclear facilities, command centers, and air defense positions. Iran originally deployed the Soviet S-300 system and its domestic Bavar 373 long-range air defense system with great confidence. However, under the stealth and electronic warfare suppression of the F-35, these ace air defense systems barely made any effective response. Israeli jets flew overhead without triggering the radar. Beijing feels even more uneasy because its HQI-9 air defense system, from design to system structure, is almost a complete copy of the Soviet S-300. The radar illumination system, interception mechanism, and launcher configuration all initially relied on technology imported from Russia. The indigenous development was mostly a partial upgrade based on the S-300 PMU version. Even the upgraded HQ-9B can't be called modern air defense. Its maximum interception range is only 125 kilometers, 25 kilometers for cruise missiles and just 30 kilometers for ballistic missiles. As for hypersonic warheads, there is essentially no potential for interception. Against stealth aircraft like the F-22 and F-35, it suffers a systemic defeat. China's HQ system must rely on anti-stealth systems for support using very high-frequency radar warnings, followed by data link guidance, and finally completing a delayed lock-on. This process takes at least 6 minutes. But the F-35 can penetrate in just 90 seconds, meaning China's HQ system can't react in time. In the 2025 Iran-Israel war, Tehran's defense system S-300 and the domestic Bavar 373 were completely unable to intercept Israeli F-35s and drones. The F-35 directly penetrated and missiles hit the targets. Pakistan's HQ also failed to stop India's missiles. In the May 2025 India-Pakistan conflict, India launched around 200 missiles, including BrahMos supersonic missiles and Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Pakistan deployed the export version of the HQ-9, HQ-9P, and HQ-16, distributed across Islamabad, Karachi, and 6 major military bases. What was the result? 5 Air Force bases were hit. Nuclear facility passages were breached, the first ever precise strike on a nuclear warhead storage site. Air Force hangars, runways, and ammunition depots were heavily damaged. The HQ system intercepted some missiles, but the overall penetration rate was as high as 20%. Ironically, the CCP military media responded by saying the bases were bombed because the bunkers weren't strong enough. Is the bunkers weren't built properly the reasons why the HQ-9 couldn't stop the missiles? The biggest issue with the HQ series is not that it can't hit, but that it isn't a systemized air defense. The HQ-9 is deployed in key cities and missile bases such as Beijing, Hainan, Jiuquan, and Kunlun. The 055, 052D destroyers, etc. are equipped with the naval version of HQ-9, but the platform is relatively small. The HQ-16 used by field troops for medium and short-range interceptions cannot stop supersonic missiles and can't keep up with the system's coordination. Moreover, the radar is scattered, data isn't interoperable, and the guidance coordination mechanism is weak. Even if it can intercept a single BrahMos, can it stop 20 simultaneously penetrating missiles? The HQ system can block 1, but not 10, and it can't block the blow from behind. As of 2025, the countries to which the CCP's HQ series systems have been exported include Pakistan, Egypt, Tajikistan, Algeria, Myanmar, and more. The only combat record is that Pakistan used the HQ system and had 5 bases breached: Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, China-India border, inland nuclear bases, East Coastline. The increasing deployment of HQ systems shows not Beijing's confidence, but Beijing's increasing fear. Fear of not being able to stop the US military, fear of losing the illusion of protecting the country in one battle. This system isn't incapable of responding. It's that it can't respond in time, can't find the target, and can't hit the enemy. If there is a real Taiwan Strait war, facing the multi-dimensional strikes of F-35s, JASSM missiles, B-2 bombers, and the electronic suppression systems, the HQ system would only become a typical example of military propaganda for stability maintenance. The truth about drones and tactical breakthroughs. In Iran's 12-day war, Iran launched over 1,000 drones of various types, attempting to disrupt Israel's air defense through saturation attacks. However, post-war data show that 99.99% of these drones were intercepted, and not only did they fail to break through defenses, but they also didn't produce any noteworthy results. This shattered a fantasy. Relying on drone swarms to overwhelm modern air defense systems simply doesn't work. But the problem isn't actually with Iran itself. The truth is, Iran used outdated templates, early versions, and semi-finished drones from China. What Shahed 129, 191, 171. In plain terms, these are all downsized versions of China's Wing Loon No. 1 and CH-4 UAV from 10 years ago. The electronic control modules are outdated, the aerodynamic layout is old, and they rely on GPS for positioning without even having anti-jamming capabilities. It's a miracle if these things can win a battle. So we should ask, Iran fell because it copied China's old version. Can the current CCP drone system really defeat modern air defense networks? Look at how China promotes it. China's Electronics Technology Group claims it has broken through fixed-wing drone swarm coordination technology, set a world record with 200 drones in an aerial formation, and showcased a vehicle-mounted deployment airborne release and precise coordination high-tech model projects. Zhejiang University also released news saying that the drone swarm can complete tasks autonomously without GPS, relying on AI path planning and multi-drone coordination navigation algorithms. It sounds impressive, but the problem is no matter how agile the swarm is, it can't withstand physical destruction. Germany's Rheinmetall has developed a Skynex air defense system specifically for hunting drone swarms, capable of launching 3,800 lethal tungsten alloy projectiles in just 1.5 seconds and shooting down 800 drones within a minute, targeting swarm drones specifically. It uses a 35mm high-speed anti-aircraft gun capable of firing 63 Airbus rounds per second. The shells explode 10 to 40 meters in front of the target, forming a tungsten alloy barrage. The radar offers full-dimensional tracking with a 360-degree fast turret rotation and known blind spots, and it can even be mounted on trucks or armored vehicles. The key ammunition is the AHAD fuel air explosive developed by Switzerland's Oerlikon, which contains 152 tungsten pellets. They claim with just 4 Skynex systems, they can defend the entire Berlin. For the drone swarm system, this isn't a technical obstacle, it's a survival crisis. To understand the true combat capability of China's drone system, we can't just focus on outdated models used for exports. What the CCP really wants to scare America with are its 3 high-end drones, WZ-7, WZ-8, and GJ-11. These 3 models are repeatedly promoted within the CCP's narrative as future war platforms and core of the intelligent drone system. But if we break them down one by one, their strengths and weaknesses are hidden in the details. The WZ-7 Soaring Dragon unmanned aerial vehicle is positioned as a high-altitude, long-endurance reconnaissance platform. Its aerodynamic layout is similar to the US's Global Hawk RQ-4 with a large wingspan and a fuselage hump intake, suitable for long-term flight and covering vast areas for strategic reconnaissance. Its advantage lies in its ability to carry large radar and electronic reconnaissance equipment, providing target indications for the CCP's rocket force or long-range missiles. But its flaws are also obvious: poor mobility, weak penetration capability, slow flight speed, and almost zero stealth capability. Once locked on, it has almost no chance of survival. In other words, it is a high-altitude monitor, but not a battlefield survivor. CCP's promoted high-speed, high-altitude strategic reconnaissance drone WZ-8 is hyped as a groundbreaking technology. With a speed of Mach 6 and an altitude of 50 kilometers, it seems capable of breaking through the edge of space. Its design is similar to the US Cold War era D-21, and it has been portrayed as China's carrier strike tracker and laser-guided command center. Some media once compared it to the US RQ-180, but the truth is, this aircraft is destined to live only in the spotlight of military parades. Firstly, the WZ-8 cannot take off autonomously. It lacks its own landing gear power system and must rely on the H-6 bomber to be launched from high altitude and high speed. It uses a fixed-thrust rocket engine with a rigid linear rocket nozzle that cannot maneuver while flying. Once ignited, it is a straight-line force that rushes forward with high speed but cannot make turns. Essentially, it is a non-turning flying camera. The WZ-8 does not have the adjustable wings typical of conventional fighter jets or high maneuverability drones, such as large wings or forward-swept wings. Like the D-21, it may only correct its course slightly with small ailerons, but it cannot perform mid-flight major maneuvers or choose its own flight route. The flight path almost entirely depends on the preset trajectory, and after launch, it switches to a ballistic plus inertial navigation mode. It also lacks ability to hover or stay in place. Once it passes the carrier target, it can only continue flying forward, unable to track the target's dynamic movement, causing the missile to lose guidance. More realistically, the US military doesn't need to use missiles to target it at 50 kilometers in the air. They just need to disable China's H-6 bomber and it won't be able to deploy. If it has any real value, it would only be in the first wave of war where it can complete a one-time reconnaissance mission before the opponent establishes an air defense network. Once high-intensity combat begins, it becomes a high-value, low-deployment, fragile asset. China's GJ-11 stealth drones, with a design similar to the B-2 Flying Wing, is packaged by state media as a secret weapon to deter the US military. But how much substance does it really have? The GJ-11 has difficulty taking off independently and requires the H-6 bomber for airborne deployment. Its internal missile bay can only carry 2 to 3 small missiles, with a payload capacity even lower than the US's military previous generation drones. Its endurance is severely limited and its operational time is extremely short. Compare the data. The US MQ-9 Reaper drone can fly for 14 hours continuously, carrying 8 missiles. China's FJ-11 can only fly for 3 to 4 hours, carrying 2 to 3 missiles. Some may argue that the GJ, smaller size, gives it advantage for ambush operations. Indeed, from a technical standpoint, its small size and limited radar cross-section may give it some AI-based autonomous combat capability, making it suitable for hit-and-run tactics. But reality is harsh. Against the US's military's advanced air defense network, the GJ-11's survivability is concerning. Israeli airstrikes on Iran show that modern air defense systems have an interception rate of 99.99% against drones. What will become of the GJ-11 in the face of the US military? The most disadvantageous part is that it is most likely a one-time consumable. After completing its mission, it self-destructs or crashes once its fuel runs out, with no intention of returning alive. Essentially, advanced weapon developed at great cost ultimately becomes a suicidal one-time tool. The true purpose of the GJ-11 is likely not for actual combat, but for political propaganda, creating the illusion of military strength for the people, deterring other countries, and making it seem as if the CCP has mastered advanced technology, while in reality it is just bluffing. And its true technological strength is far from what is advertised. Looking back at history, the CCP's military propaganda is always loud, but with little substance. The J-20 was hyped as the world's best, but now it is still troubled by engine issues. The domestic aircraft carrier was called world-class, yet its technology still lags decades behind the US military. Various trump card weapons emerge constantly, but none have proven themselves in actual combat. The GJ-11 is most likely one of these, looking advanced but with little real use. The CCP prides itself as the world's second military power, but its equipment was exposed on the Iranian battlefield. Its rocket force is a paper tiger level saturation strike illusion. Its HQ system is a self-discomforting air defense system used for show. Its drone swarms is an AI-driven military propaganda illusion. So, the issue is not whether the CCP has 660 DF missiles, 3,000 cruise missiles, or how many GJ-11 drones it can launch. The question is, in a real fight, can it command its forces effectively? Can it strike in coordination? Can it withstand decapitation and suppression? What the US military validated in the Iran war was not just the tactics themselves, but China's entire systemic warfare opponent model. If Iran failure was a rehearsal, then the CCP's true reality has already been exposed in this battlefield experiment. the outcome will not be heroic nuclear war, but the silent paralysis of the system. Essentially, it's not that the missiles didn't fire, it's that the whole system collapsed first.